Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports That back into the video today, and today the Tennessee Titans are signing former Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver and Titans head coach Brian Callahan's former wide receiver when he was the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. Tyler Boyd is going to be the new wide receiver 3 for the Tennessee Titans, and I love this addition. I really do. Will Levis is going to have himself a stacked offense, and look, if he can be decent last year with having wide receivers like DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks, I really think that Will Levis, for a rookie, played well with not the best offense, and I want to talk about the additions that have been added in for him this offseason that definitely will make him an improved player going into his second season last year wasn't even a full season for him at quarterback. His first full season, second year in the NFL for the Tennessee Titans. So you lose Derrick Henry. I want to talk about that before I get to the additions because you can't ignore that. But you lose Derrick Henry. Here's what you bring in for the kid. Hopkins stays. That's great. So you add in Calvin Ridley, and you sign him. That's a big addition for Will Levis. You signed Tyler Boyd today. You signed Tony Pollard, and I know that's a little bit of a downgrade at running back. I think Pollard has some things in his game that Henry doesn't, and also, to be honest, Henry was, his last year with Tennessee wasn't great. So I think the Pollard addition is pretty. I don't think Pollard's going to do as much as Henry did for this team in the previous Henry years, but I think Pollard can be just as good for this Tennessee team. Or if not better for this Tennessee Titans team than Henry was last year. I'm not talking about previous years for this Titans team because I don't think there will never be any Titans running back that will be better for what Derrick Henry did for this Titans team. But I'm saying I think Pollard has potential to be better than Derrick Henry was last year because that was not the Henry we've seen. So I think that Pollard is a good addition if you think of it like that. You add in Tyler Boyd, you add in Calvin Ridley. I think the recent draft pick at number 7, J.C. Latham, or is it Latham? It's Latham or Latham, the offensive tackle from Alabama. Some people are questioning the draft pick. He could have been a little bit lower in the draft, but at the same time, Will Levis was attacked last year with his terrible offensive line. They made some other offensive line additions in free agency. They've improved this offensive line for him. That's going to be great. It's going to give him more time to throw the ball and better chances of not getting injured. Because I'm a Texans fan. I watched it. They were in Houston against playing us. He got injured. He got injured like one other time outside of that too. So I'm not saying he's an injury prone player, but you got a lot of potential injuries when you got a defensive line attacking you extra because your offensive line sucks. And I think they've improved on the offensive line and getting him some solid tackles. They've improved with wide receiver threats. D-Hop was their best wide receiver last year. He's great, but he is out of his prime. Treylon Burks was the wide receiver too. Good wide receiver, but he's going to be better as the wide receiver for this year. So you add in Tyler Boyd, you add in Calvin Ridley. This is an amazing wide receiver group for a second-year quarterback who has a guy in Calvin Ridley and then another guy in DeAndre Hopkins who's a great wide receiver too. And honestly, I think D-Hop, we saw how good he was at wide receiver 1 last year for this Titans team. Imagine him at wide receiver 2. He's going to be a great wide receiver too. And they got Tyler Boyd. I want to go over what Tyler Boyd did last year for Cincinnati. He played 17 games. He had 667 receiving yards and with 2 touchdowns. That's a wide receiver 3 right there, who's only started 13 games last year. We're talking about a wide receiver 3 put up near 700 receiving yards. And what if I told y'all that was his worst year in the last couple seasons since they had Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins? He's been the wide receiver 3 ever since both T. Higgins and Ja'Marr Chase were drafted. Which Ja'Marr Chase was T. Higgins' first year was 2020. Ja'Marr Chase's first year was 2021. He had 828 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns as the wide receiver 3 in 2021. He had 762 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns in 16 games in the 2022 season. And 17 games this season had 667 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Those are his numbers as the wide receiver 3. I'm sorry, one of the best wide receiver 3s in football. And now he's one of the new targets for Will Levis. I am not surprised about this signing, just because of the fact that he's joining his former offensive coordinator, who is now the head coach. But at the same time, this is a great signing for Tennessee. Let me know your thoughts on the signing in the comment section, and peace out.